Okay, welcome everybody. This is the 6th Sacred Masculine class. And today is the 13th of March, and the actual activation of the 4th labor is going to be on the 19th. So in terms of the hero's journey, we're still in the initiation act. And in terms of the Mars Synodic cycle, we're in phase 2 of the 6 phases. And this activation is going to happen at 9 degrees of Gemini. So here is our agenda for today. And you'll notice that I've kind of tweaked this. I heard this phrase from someone I listened to, and it felt like a really uplifting, empowering word. So I have switched this from establishing spiritual protection to establishing spiritual fortification. That feels much more empowering to me. I don't know how that feels to the rest of you.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Good. And so then we're going to open our sacred space. We're going to look at the March creative energies again, just very briefly, to bring into our awareness what's happening at this time, since we looked at that on Monday with the Sacred Feminine class. This will be a good piece for you, Tom, the hero's journey and the Mars Synodic cycle. I won't be going in depth with it, and this will be something that you can dive into because the slides will be on the resource page to really kind of get your bearings around how the hero's journey, which we align with the Mars Synodic cycle, kind of ties in and integrates with the 6 phases of that Mars Synodic cycle. And just in case you don't recall from the reading I did with you, just reminding you now that Mars in the sky represents the sacred masculine, which is why we're looking at the Mars Synodic cycle. So then we will do the closure on the 3rd labor, which was activated in February last month. And then we will look at the 4th labor. And again, Tom, just for your references, in the mythology, we align these labor activations with the 12 labors of Hercules. So you'll see that the 3rd labor talks about the 3rd Herculean labor, and the 4th labor talks about the 4th Herculean labor. So you'll have that mental connection. Then we'll look at the aspects this month, which are, for me, a little mind-blowing. I almost wanted to call it a spider's web. It would be interesting to see when the rest of you look at this and tune into it, what might come up around that for you, for yourself when we see the chart. And then any vision questing, a vision quest opportunity, if you have time to do it between now and the group session on Saturday, that would be really groovy. And of course, at any time that you have desire any clarification, or you're having any ahas, questions and answers at any time. Is everybody good with the agenda for today?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and establish spiritual fortification. Tom, this is the goddess Diana, a representative of her. You know her as Wonder Woman. It just so happens that her character's name was also Diane or Diana. And this image was actually created by this gentleman, Don Jack. And the image is demonstrating the armor of fortification that she's wearing. And we did a whole piece on the spiritual armor that Doreen can talk to you about when you go back and look at those other classes. So go ahead and just get your feet and your hands comfortable, get settled in, close your eyes. Take a deep inhale into your abdomen. Take another deep inhale into your pelvic floor. One more deep inhale into your tip of your tailbone. And a deep inhale into your earth star chakra. Reclaim this space for the Sophia Christ consciousness. We put on the full armor of the goddess Diana for spiritual fortification. We call in our higher selves to be present so that anything and everything that anybody in the circle requires to hear will be translated for them. And we seal this space with the light of the golden ray. And so it is. Aho. So today we're going to be doing an invocation to Hercules, also known as Heracles. And you'll see that's because of the aspect to Hercules. It might have made more sense to do an invocation to Uranus. And we've done an invocation to Uranus before. And so I thought it would be fun to do an invocation to Heracles today. So Tom, can put you right on the spot here.
Welcome.
Everybody go ahead and get their space prepared. I'm turning on my candle.
You want me to read the whole thing for you?
Yes, you can. In just a moment, when everybody's ready, we're going to sage or smudge, whatever it is that you need to do. And when everybody's ready, just give the thumbs up and Tom can read the invocation.
Ready? I call to Hercules, defender of men, son of thundering Zeus, husband of bright-hearted Hebe.
Oh, stop.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to put on the record button.
Oh, okay.
It says recording.
It's
Does
recording.
it say recording?
Yeah.
Recording.
I totally spaced out. I apologize, Tom.
Oh my
If
goodness.
you'll start from the beginning, I just had a mental blip right there. Sorry.
All
Okay.
good.
I call to Hercules, defender of men, son of thundering Zeus, husband of bright-hearted Hebe, who destroyed the raging lion of Nemea and set the beast to shine among the distant stars, who changed the course of the river Alpheos, who slew the wicked Diomedes, who fed his mares on the flesh of men, who ended the life of the many-headed Hydra. In high-walled Thebes, the city of your birth, you were well honored. Throughout the land did men and women pray to you at splendid shrines and at great festivals. A path of valor you chose, immortal life, heroic one. In godhood, to you guard the world of men. Hercules, friend of humanity, I call to you.
Of one, I'm grateful you got to read that because there's some
Yeah.
tricky names in there.
I know.
Yeah, you got, yeah.
The
Indoctrinate by
cities were
fire
guesses
on
or
that
whatever
one.
the rest of it, I don't know. the
Well
word.
done. I think they were all pronounced right. Of course, I didn't know how to pronounce them in the first place, but that's Kirby. That Kerberos, that's my dog. My dog's named after Kerberos.
Yeah. Cover us.
And you'll often see pictures of Hercules depicted with him, the three-headed dog, which there's a reference to in the Harry Potter movies.
It's also the security protocol for Windows, which is how Kirby ended up with it.
Yeah.
But that one's
Thank
spelled with a
you.
K. They have different spellings. It's the same dog. It's the same three-headed keeper of Hades.
Yes. So thank you for that, Tom. And yes, agreeing with Carrie that those Greek names can be a little challenging for those of us that are not Greek scholars. So thank you. for that. So these are the energies, the creative energies for March. And I've added one here that I did not include in the Sacred Feminine. And this was the Mahashivaratri event that happened on March 11th. This is one of the greatest festivals of the year in the Hindu religion, of course, related to the god Shiva, who is a destroyer god. And in that sense, we're talking about destroying the mind, right? The egoic mind, so that we can achieve illumination. And so we see that because he has the moon in his hair, and he has the water of the Ganges River running through him. So I don't know if I sent out a newsletter for the Mahashivaratri. I don't know if you all received it or not.
I did. I was already kind of tuned into it because of a guru I follow. But what I found interesting is you had Marshall's reading them.
Yes, her son's reading was done. Was it done on Mahashivaratri?
It's coming up. Or no?
No, it already
Hold
happened.
on a second.
It already happened.
Marshall's reading was done the night before the Mahashivaratri,
No, night
Okay.
before.
but still very, very closely aligned.
Well,
So
I had my conversation with him was on the 11th.
oh, okay.
So my
fabulous.
experience with him and his reading was on the Mahashivaratri.
7.
Mahashivaratri. Very good. Very good. So you should all be in my mailing list. And if you didn't receive it, check your other spam folders or whatever, so that you can look at that newsletter. Today, the day that we're having our class, is the new moon in Pisces at 23 degrees. And remember, we talked about on Monday that this is considered the Piscean season these few weeks at the beginning of March because of all of the luminary bodies that are in Pisces. And today, this is also the day that Mercury is returning to his retrograde point for that first vision quest of the year. So this is a completion point of that vision quest.
And when did
And-
that start?
You'll see it
Okay.
in the slides for the Sacred Feminine class. That slide's not in this class.
Okay.
I think it was in January.
Yeah,
think
if
it
you
was
said
in
it was the first of the near the beginning of the year, I think it was in January.
And so the actual fourth labor activation is happening, as I said, on March 19th. And that's when Neptune, who's been on a very long vision quest because he's such a slow moving planet, is returning to his retrograde point. So that's a huge shift in energy. Anytime a planet stations direct is a shift in their retrograde journey. And then when they get to the outer boundary of that, the retrograde point, another huge shift in energy. And even more so for these outer planets that are such slow moving planets. It's kind of, the image I see is like trying to turn the Titanic around. You know, the force of energy that it would take to stop the momentum and stand still so that they could turn around. That's the effect that these energies of the outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and to a certain extent, even Saturn, have on us when they complete these vision quests. Just reminding you that the day after the labor activation is the spring equinox. So this is a huge point. We know that the spring and fall equinox, along with the summer and winter solstices, these are huge points because they're touching on the 4 cardinal points of the astrological wheel. Okay. So Tom, specifically drawing your attention to this slide, what this does, and this is the second slide of this type, is it's showing how the hero's journey and the Mars synodic cycle are blended together. So when we're talking about this initiation act, that's a part of the hero's journey. And you see these different steps, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 that are taking place within that act. There are 3 acts to the hero's journey. First, there is the departure act. This second act is the initiation act. And then the final act of the hero's journey is the return act, which you see here in green. So everything in red is related to the second act of the hero's journey. Everything in green is related to the third act of the hero's journey. Then what you see in orange, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, those are related to the 6 phases of the Mars synodic cycle. So you can see how we've integrated those phases into the different acts of the hero's journey. And where we are right now in the hero's journey under the initiation act, we're here at this step 6. There's 12 steps altogether amongst the 3 acts. So we're in this step of test, allies, and enemies. And this is the step where the hero faces new challenges in the special world, right? This is the world that is different than the everyday normal world for the hero. And he gets a whole new squad, oftentimes mystical characters and mystical animals. And within this test, allies, and enemies step of the hero's journey, under the Mars synodic cycle, we're having these different labors. We'll have 9 labors, each one occurring in a subsequent month and marked in the sky by when the moon and Mars come together in what we call a conjunction. So right now we're at that 4th labor. Okay. All right, so now is our time to do a little bit of final closure since your personal sessions around the labor of Mars, 3rd labor. And I found it fascinating as I was talking to Maureen and Doreen about their experience with the 3rd labor, is how for the first time that I can discern in us going through these labors, each of you are actually able to identify a specific labor, a specific insurmountable task or struggle that was showing up for you. And I found that really fascinating. And for my own self, I was experiencing consciously. I'm sure in the other labors it was happening too, and yet it had not yet boiled up to the conscious level to be able to recognize it, name it, and put words around it. So that was a fascinating shift in our consciousness regarding this entire Mars synodic journey that took place last month. So just to remind you about the Herculean task related to the 3rd labor, this is when Hercules is tasked to bring the, I'm going to say hind, it might be hind to the king, reminding ourselves that the hind is a female red deer that has golden antlers and hoofs of bronze. Remember, this is kind of a mystical animal here, and that he was very sacred to the goddess Diana and was considered to be her special pet. Now, because it was sacred to Hercules, he knew to capture this hind and bring it back to the king, he could neither wound it or kill it. However, in the process of tracking and capturing the hind, he does actually shoot her with one of his arrows, and she does get wounded, unfortunately. And as fate would have it, he actually runs into Diana and Apollo on his way back to the king. And so, of course, Diana is very angry because she perceives that as Hercules trying to kill her sacred animal. And she's about to take the deer away from him and punish him for it. But Hercules tells her, that he has to obey the oracle and do these labors. And so Diana is able to demonstrate compassion and grace, let go of her anger, and heal the deer's wound so that Hercules can then carry it alive back to the city where the king's palace is. So in the backdrop of this labor, we know that this is taking place in the sign of Taurus. And so the energies, the shadow pieces, what we call the negative Taurus traits for people that are activated by the Taurian energies or embody the Taurian energies, show up in these ways in terms of stubbornness, being resistant to change, challenging authority figures, having no time for anything that they believe is wrong or wasting their time, taking their pleasure-seeking way too far so that they can actually become very hedonistic in their tendencies or even become just lazy and delve into procrastination. They can also become huge perfectionists, and actually, if because of their perfectionism, if what they're experiencing or observing, it doesn't meet their standards of perfectionism, they can, walk away from it because it's not good enough for them. And what I'm aware of is that oftentimes these tendencies towards perfectionism can also then on one end of the spectrum lead to the procrastination, because there's this energy that if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it at all. So all of that is influencing this Herculean labor. And as I'm even saying that, what I'm aware of is this inner struggle that's not spoken to directly, and yet we can intuit that Hercules knows that this deer is sacred to the goddess Diana. How can he catch it without wounding it or killing it? And so this is a struggle just in the mere process of trying to get the hind to take it back to the king that he's dealing with. So anyhow, delving into those themes around the insurmountable challenge or task that may have shown up for you over the course of this past month, is there anything that's desiring a final, what is the word I'm looking for? Let me find it. Acknowledgement. Anything that's desiring to be seen, heard, witnessed, that would like you to give a voice to it here in this sacred circle.
For me, on Friday, again, dealing with individuals of authority and change, and this has been a long coming change, very laborious for a year, almost 2 years.
Good for you. Ah.
Right. So we have a positive change coming, but then also at the same turn on Friday, ideally I'm being demoted. So I'm not dealing with that too well. But again, I'm trying to stay in a place of, okay, that was part of that process, and I'm hoping that once I phase out of this, maybe it will change for the better, because that is that phase and those individuals that were trying to do that to me for quite some time. And that was their last need to do that to me before they left. So, but I'm dealing with that right now, and I'll be honest, I'm struggling with it. But at the same turn, I'm trying to just keep my mind positioned that that maybe this isn't permanent, that it's going to be changing positively sooner than later.
And
So,
so what's coming up for me around that, Doreen, is it's providing you an opportunity for a breakthrough in terms of relating to what society, the social structure, classifies as this hierarchy in terms of authorities. And even though they're giving this label of demotion to you, being able to stand in your own sovereignty and power and continue to relate to them as an equal, consciously relate to them as an equal, as if the demotion, right, the label of the demotion did not take place, because you are equals with them. And whether they choose to see you that way or not, you can continue to see yourself in that way. And so that is a huge labor to take on consciously, stand in, and manifest for yourself.
Yes, I'm still struggling with it.
so
Yeah.
if I may, Doreen, because we've had a conversation about this. We've had a conversation about this specifically in terms of what you're experiencing in this particular institution, as well as the individual responsible. So keep in mind that that individual actually is not on, they're not a peer. Now they're demoted below where, so demotion's relative, keep that in mind. And yes, hurt people. So, you know, bringing you down now. But here's the point we talked about, because remember, this has been a pain for you for 2 years. For me, it's been, I think, 8. I don't know, I lost track. It was painful, stopped counting. But when this initial change, when this individual came into this position of leadership, the thing that was dropped for them, and they got it because they brought it back and said, oh, I got this nugget, was that we are an institution. It's an institution of people, not positions. And so by doing this, by altering your position before they go, this individual has acknowledged, it's their way of saying, I have not grown. And so this behavior, what's happened to you, is a consequence of someone else who's announcing, I have not grown. And yes, your nature of position, you are a person. If you didn't change as a person when your position title changed and the value in that position, because I know this institution will be whatever you put into it, and all positions everywhere are temporary. And especially in an evolving institution that is obviously going through great change, to have removed this particular blockage, this particular piece of blockage. So I've been on this boat a lot longer. I've had the blockage get in my way. It's taken a very long time, but it's interesting. I want to bring this up because Sophia Mona Lisa knows, and you do, Doreen, because I mentioned it to you. Maureen doesn't know, but between the last session and this session, I had an opportunity come to me, same institution, and at an extremely high level, which indicated, again, this blockage in the institution has been removed. But you know what, and this is what I was trying to, I did not express it well in my words to Sophia Mona Lisa. She was the first person I wanted to share this news with, and you were Sophia Mona Lisa. And the reason why is because even though I wasn't able to communicate it, I understood in this very deep, excited place, Maureen. I understood that the big shift that changed, that made this happen, Doreen, it wasn't so much the blockage. That's a huge piece. It's a huge piece. That's like the nature of the institution chakra, right? And something got healed, and that's beautiful. But it wouldn't matter to me or what's going on with me if I hadn't come in with a different energy. when I came back. So I had a lot of leave and I came back from a break and we come back to the institution, everybody together. And I know I came in with a different frequency. I intended to. And I was very intentional and I didn't hide with my frequency. I ended up accidentally, inadvertently being very public about it. And that is what set the chain of events that put me into the position to get the opportunity I got last week. Now it's neither promotion or demotion. It's a position. And I will occupy it if I take it for a period of time. And then I will leave it, hopefully better than I originally occupied it. And I'll move on to another position, because our positions do not define us as people, but it can be used as a weapon, especially by people who themselves are suffering in a matter of position.
And what I'd like to say around that, Carrie, to both you and Doreen, is to remind yourselves that this is a universe of attraction. It is not a universe of assertion. And so it takes a lot of conscious practice when these things are unfolding before us to be mindful that it's not about these other people that are making choices and doing things that seem like they're doing things to us. It's about the experience that you attracted to yourself to help you clarify your own expansion. And yes, as Carrie said, when you choose to meet those experiences from a higher frequency, that dominant frequency does have a ripple effect in the external manifestation. So my intention here is to bring your awareness back to Doreen and Carrie, and I think Carrie is aware of this as well, that whatever clarification you require to help you step into your own empowerment more fully, your own sovereignty more fully, is exactly what you attracted. It's not about the players and what they did or what they said. It's about how you clarified, I am ready to step more fully into my empowerment, into my sovereignty, and how these labor activations are facilitating that dance within you.
And I do. I mean, I understand, and I'm the first to say, right? Like, I'm not defined by my position. I'm not defined by my work, right? Like, I understand that, but emotionally, it didn't sit very well.
It was also weaponized.
Sure, and remember, it's the emotional guidance system that lets you know where you are on the vibrational scale. And so whenever you're triggered, for lack of a better word, that's a word people use, and you feel that emotion around it, that's when you can consciously become aware of that emotion, that feeling, and choose to shift your position and uplift your frequency. So there's no pushing away the emotional reaction or response. There's no labeling, there's no judgment. It is your personal emotional guidance system working for you so that you can consciously choose to create something even better for yourself.
Well, and that's really what this position represents, because it's just a container for you to occupy for a period of time, and you get to color that in any way that you can manifest it. So it can be seen as a container to hold you in, or it can be seen as a container that gives you a clear space to work within, to find some successes, to be seen visibly with new leadership, so that when they figure out what the heck is going on in the state of chaos, which will change, and I've been saying that for years, it's going to change right back, which is why it was silly to do it in the first place. It'll all change. And when it does, this needs to be so Doreen. And if it's so Doreen, it doesn't matter what the title is.
I know.
What matters is that it becomes so Doreen that you can't help but see Doreen, because Doreen has immense value. And so if you're seeing by the people putting the pieces together in the plan, that's the energy, you know, it's hopefully a safe space to clarify yourself for right now.
I know.
That's it.
It's more my pride. And again, as I was going through it on Friday, and I kept saying, like, I know I'm gonna get through this. I know I'm gonna work through this. Like, but at that moment, it was more my pride, and you know, just like having to deal with that. Like, that's where it's
It
at, right?
hurts. It
And
hurts.
me
Stings.
Yeah, it was more my pride, and having to now,
Yeah.
the thought of having to utter a different title, which is a demotion, to me is going to be something that I'm going to have to suck up my pride repeatedly from here forward and accept that and deal with it. I'm just not, I know I can, I'm just not overly excited about it at the moment.
It's a humbling process. And I tell you what, you stay at this institution, it's going to happen again. I have learned so many incredible lessons about humility, about losing, about not getting what I perceived the way I perceived it, or in the time frame that I want it. Really, this place that we share has taught me some of the hardest, most painful lessons about life and about myself. And so this is probably one, and I feel for you. Hugs.
Yeah, I have a question I would like to ask about the energy that's going on in your workplace. You see it as a demotion, and probably your coworkers also see it as a demotion. But what energy can you bring to the position you've been given that makes it powerful and recognized as, in fact, your energy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just seems like there's more to it here than being demoted
Mm-hmm.
that you can bring. Am I
No,
do you
you're
feel
correct.
that, or
No, you're correct.
Okay.
It's and I will say that, I mean, they are trying, they're getting there, but they're trying to create a space for me to, I like to innovate, I like to lift other people up, I like to give others space to be innovative, to be creative, to get them the resources that they need to shine and excel and take their gifts, right, and what they're good at, and elevate that to the next level. That's how I see myself. And they're trying to, I will say they're trying in their way to create that opportunity for me. It's going to take, I know it's going to take some time. I know that it's going to be, but it's just, again, this has been 2 years now of this transition, and it's taken a lot from me, and I'm ready to move forward. I know that they're trying to, and they are, I feel they are trying to.
But that's just it, Doreen. This place gets rid of people. So the win here, the beauty of this is that an institution loves you enough and values you enough to create a brand new position with potential in your space just for you. And do keep in mind, you weren't demoted because you did something wrong or because someone else took your position because they're doing it better than you did. Your position was eliminated, and it took them, they still kept you in that high capacity to give you that kind of impact on the institution when your whole unit was dissolved because of the goal of an individual that's now gone. So it's not really a demotion, I think.
No.
Is maybe Maureen's picking up on energy that's real important, because the energy in the place is nobody's looking at you as demoted, because the place is, oh my gosh, I'm still here. That's like, wow, you must.
I know, and I am, and I said that numerous times on Friday. I said, please, like, I was talking to a colleague and I said, please don't in any way let me convey that I'm not appreciative. I'm very grateful. I'm very appreciative. It's just, again, this is another phase that I have
You
to
can
go
feel it
through.
all.
I'm going through
Yep.
it. Again, I'm not ungrateful. I'm very
Mhm.
grateful. So that's not it at all. It's just, yes, it's like you said, Sophia, Mona Lisa, I'm having to now deal with yet another phase of my emotions, look at what's important to me, what sets my values, what do I need to deal with, and how am I in this transition gonna deal with those emotions and move through it. So
And I hear you, Doreen, and I hear Carrie and Maureen as well. And this is what I'd like to bring your awareness back to, because I'm seeing a lot of Taurian energy flying around here. And the Taurian energy that I'm seeing is getting stuck in a rut. And the rut is focusing on the details of who did it, how it happened, what's going on, that organization. And the truth of the matter is, it's not about any of that. What I did hear you say, my pride has been hurt. I heard you say that. And what I did hear you say, trying to remember the other phrase, I can't recall right now. And so what I want to bring into your awareness regarding the labor activation is that this is an opportunity for you to make peace with yourself, so that the pride aspect is not running you, because you are a master, you are a sovereign being. And so these emotions that are coming up, oh, that was something that you said, something about I'm having to deal with these emotions again. This is another piece of the creative process for you to make peace with and bring your awareness heightening to. It's not about dealing with these emotions again. It's recognizing the deliciousness of these emotions are coming up. I'm aware of them, and I can consciously work with them to clarify my greater and greater creation that I desire to manifest and experience. Okay?
yes. And I'm not good with emotions. So yes, I'm chuckling.
Well, you
'cause I know
are
that's-
good with emotion. That's a false belief
Uh,
that you are ready to now let go of, because everybody from the moment they have been born have been dealing with their emotional guidance system. And so whether they use their emotional guidance system consciously or not, whether they use their emotional guidance system in a conscious way to create what they desire or to create manipulation, you are good with your emotions. So please, I ask you to allow yourself to let go of that false belief.
yes. thank you.
Okay, so we want to wrap this up now, and I want to just give Maureen an opportunity if there's any closure that she has that she'd like to give a voice to before we move on. Go ahead and take this opportunity.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you for
Thank
all of that
you.
sharing.
No, thank you.
That's really
Thank you all.
fantastic. I appreciate that. So let's look at this fourth labor. And the name of this labor is the, again, pardon my Greek,
That boar.
Erymanthian boar. And it's called the Erymanthian boar because this boar lives on a mountain that's called Erymanthus. Okay. So what I found fascinating about this labor is that, yes, he has to go and get the boar and bring it back. But you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 main story points about this labor. And all of them, except for the last 2, have nothing to do with the boar. Yes, it's about what happened to him on his way to get the boar. What these are about is the centaurs, his friend Pholus the centaur, where he stopped to visit and stayed at. the great meal that Pholus created for him, and Hercules wanting to drink some wine, and Pholus not wanting to open the wine because it doesn't belong just to him, it belongs to all the centaurs. And when Hercules says, well, that's all right, I'll open it, and he opens the wine, all the centaurs smell it and they come running, and you know, the fight between Hercules and the centaurs getting shot with the arrows that have the poison from that first labor that he went through, where he dipped, or the second one where he dipped the arrows into the blood that is poisonous, and now you know, some of the centaurs are being killed, and as a result, his own friend Pholus, who is fascinated by the fact that centaurs, who are immortal beings, have been killed by this, wonders how this can happen, and so he pulls out the arrow, and in the process fumbles and drops the arrow on himself and kills himself. This is fascinating, that there's this whole drama around these centaurs that happens in this labor before he even gets to the boar. And so when we talked about myth in our sacred feminine class, and the value of myth and the value of the evolution of myth, and while we're in this special world, this other world where all of these mystical beings show up, yes, this boar is a mystical being, so to speak, because of the attributes related to it. But there's this focus on these centaurs. Centaur, who is half horse, half man. And so this is a piece of the myth that I am inviting each of you to dig into on your own. I've been doing a lot of the research on this stuff and showing it to you, sharing it with you.
Mhm.
And because this is a collaborative
Yes.
space, and because my desire is to teach you to fish and not keep giving you fish, it's such a significant piece of this labor that I think it is worth your time and effort to dig into what this symbolizes, and knowing that each of you will find pieces around the centaur that is related specifically to you and your own journeys.
Mhm.
The other piece that is significant about this labor is this last piece down here, where Hercules has gotten the boar. And remember, the king has sent him to get this boar, and we know it's at Hera's bidding that he's sent him to get this boar. And yet when he does get the boar and he brings it back, where is the king? He's hiding in this bronze jar. That's what this painting on this this vase of some type is depicting. He's so frightened by the hero's powers that when he brings this boar back, he's hiding in his bronze jar. That is the piece that can be decoded. And so, why is he the king, who is supposed to be the sovereign, right, has the great power, is hiding from the power of this divine strength that Hercules carries. And so I invite each of you for yourselves to discover what is the allegory
Mhm.
in that
Mhm.
for each of you.
Mhm.
So that's the actual story of the Hercules labor. And then we go on and we discover that where this labor takes place this month is in the sign of Aries. So we want to be aware of the shadow aspects of this Aries energy that can be triggering us, triggering our own shadow aspects that may show up. Because remember, in terms of the astrological wheel, and we've talked about that it's not a two-dimensional wheel, it's a sphere, it's a hologram of energies that we contain within us. And so we have these Aryan energies within us, whether we have luminary bodies directly in the house or in the sign of Aries, whether we have luminary bodies in the first house, which is ruled by Aries. And at the very least, we know that Mars, who is the Lord of Aries, is in our chart. So wherever Mars, the sacred masculine, is in your chart, you are on some level, and maybe various levels, have this energy activated within you. So let's look at some of the shadow aspects that you may experience over this month. And I bring your awareness back to the discussion that we just have. When we see shadow in others, it is mirroring our own shadow. It is hard to see our own shadow. And so in this realm of duality, this process, these mirrors have been set up for us to be able to recognize our own shadow, because we cannot see our own shadow pieces. And the egoic mind is very quick to say, this is all about that. It's not me. And yet, remembering that we are in a universe that is assertion based, we have attracted this mirror to see that that frequency is activated within us. And the more that you do this work, the more subtle, the more refined and more subtle these energies that are present will be revealed to you. And so keeping this awareness that there's something within me, that this is letting me know about myself that is not serving my expansion, is possibly a very fine energy leak that is disempowering me. Okay?
Yep.
So we know that this Aryan energy can have a huge temper and temper outbursts. And so if you're feeling that come up within you, my recommendation is to remove yourself from the situation so that you can look at that energy, not push it away, look at it and discover, intuit, discern what it is telling you about yourself. Likewise, if you're in a situation where somebody else has a rage outburst, allowing yourself to choose to walk away from that, close the door, hang up the phone, whatever it is, so that you can then again go into your own space and intuit for yourself what is being triggered by having been in the space of that outburst. The other thing is that Aries energy is very courageous, and this courageous energy makes great leaders. And as I'm speaking this, I am hearing that this is related to that piece at the very end where the king is hiding in the bronze vessel of some sort. So what happens is on the shadow side, these great leaders can have blind optimism. And when they're under the influence of the blind optimism, they play to win. And when they're playing to win, they may not be conscious enough to take the time to assess the risks and the turbulence that they can face as they're playing to win. So if you experience something like this within you or it's happening around you, again, being aware of what is being shown to you around this frequency within you. So because of this courageousness, what it does is it enables people to take on situations or tasks that can become a kind of recklessness. They take it on in a very reckless way when they're not channeling this energy consciously, right? When they're channeling this bravado, right? That's the other side of courage, bravado. When they're channeling it unconsciously as bravado, it can become very reckless. And again, when they become reckless, they're not considering the consequence of their actions, which can take casualties, right? And they themselves can then end up feeling very overwhelmed when things are not going the way that they expected. So those are some things that you can be aware of over the course of the month. And then this last one about allowing yourself to become overly competitive and seeing it as if it's a fight to the death. I myself experienced that in October. Maureen will remember when I sustained a traumatic brain injury as a result of an assault that happened to me, and having to deal with how far do I take this with the legal system and push and push and push because he needs to be held accountable. And I had to get to the place where I could fight to the death. And my son actually brought that into my awareness. They don't know that you fight to the death. And taking that awareness heightening and say, okay, how can I make peace with this without having to take someone else down? Because I attracted this. They did not assert that on me. So it gets really tricky. Really, really tricky territory, because the ego is quick to say, you need to have retribution, right? So this goes back to, as they say here, people that are poor sports because they don't like to lose, right? So just be aware of these energies and the various, remember, it's an infinite cosmos that we are a part of. Therefore, there are infinite ways, because you are a unique manifestation of that cosmos, that these energies can show up that is unique to you and who you are in a way that I may never even think about. But if you start talking about it, I could say, aha, that's how that's showing up. And so it's important for you to have this awareness heightening around what is going on so that you can respond to it from the observer mode and not react to it. Okay? Any questions around what's in store for us around this fourth labor before we actually look at the aspects on the chart?
Well, can you go back to the other slide? It seems to me like if the king was hiding when he returned, he wasn't expecting him to return. So I'm a little more curious about the nature of the task that the king charged him with.
So that's something that you can dive into if that's
okay. I didn't know if you
for
knew or okay. I thought maybe I had missed it and it was on this slide. Okay.
Well, of course, I'm just taking out snippets here.
Okay.
This is the link to where the entire fourth labor story is. I would encourage you when I post the resource page to dive into this deeper and see if there are other pieces that feel more relevant to you. I was just trying to bring out the highlights because it's a really long website page. Okay, so that's a good point to to bring into the discussion. Thank you, Carrie.
Mhm.
And you'll notice too, which if you do go to this page, which I hope you do,
I will.
this is
Curious.
one of multiple images on these kinds of vessels depicting the various stages of this labor. So I love the antiquities, you know, the artwork that demonstrates this. And you may even discern for yourself by looking at how this was depicted on these antiquities, a piece that was not actually spoken to in the story.
Let me look.
Any other questions around the actual Herculean fourth labor? Or this shadow aspect of Aries? There are other shadow aspects of Aries. If you do some Googling on the shadow aspect of Aries or the negative Aries traits, you may discern others that will come up for you that you can work with. These are just some of them that I'm bringing into your awareness. Okay. And remember, this image is very good because it tells you about the shadow side of this energy. People getting into this combative positions where the horns get locked and they can't get themselves out. Remember, I talked to you, Doreen, about the monkey mind and the monkey that puts its banana in the vessel and can't get it out, his hand out, because the hand in the banana cannot come out and he won't let go of the banana to free himself. Similar energy here.
Choices.
Okay. All right, let's look at the aspects. Now, this is probably going to blow your mind the way it blew mine. And I am going to take the time to toggle between these slides and the actual chart because on the slide, it's kind of small to see this. But what we have to kind of take the great view and tunnel in. All right. So the way that these indentations occur, the leveling of the indentations helps you to tunnel in. And so what we see from the big picture is where Mars and Moon, that's the indication of the activation, are standing. They're standing right next to the North Node. This is highly significant because remember, the North Node is the cosmic GPS system. It is showing us the evolutionary path of humanity as a whole and for us as individuals, and specifically related to the sacred masculine energies of the collective consciousness of humanity. This is what I would say is a huge course correction for the sacred masculine expression within the collective consciousness of humanity and within ourselves as well. Okay, because this is pointing towards what we are evolving towards, right? It's a directional marker, what we are evolving towards. And we know that the North Node is in these Gemini energies now for a while. And we've seen that in the sacred feminine journey, which is aligned with this Gemini meta goddess, this North Node in Gemini, being the underpinning for this sacred feminine Gemini meta goddess journey. All right. So where the Mars, Moon, and the North Node are located, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 aspects. These are major aspects. A semi-sextile, which is the 30-degree aspect, a sextile, which is a 60-degree aspect, a square, which is a 90-degree aspect, and the trine, 120-degree aspect. Remember what Tesla said about 3, 6, and 9 being the keys to the universe. And isn't it interesting that we've got a 30-degree, 60-degree, 90-degree, and of course, 120 reduces to 3, right? 1 plus 2 plus 0, 3. The 0 on the end amplifies the effect of that number. And then we see here where it's semi-sextile to Uranus. Once again, we have a semi-sextile Uranus in semi-sextile, sextile, square, and trine. 30, 60, 90, 120. And where the activation is sextile to Chiron, once again, we have semi-sextile, sextile, square. 30, 60, 90. And where the trine is, another semi-sextile, 30. So we've got this layering of 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, 120, 30, 60, 90, 120, 30, 60, 90. This is highly significant. Highly significant. Very, very potent. And you can see from this, and when I show you the image, why I was looking at this like a spider's web. And you may even want to Google shamanic medicine for spider, because to me, tell me for yourself, does this look like a spider's web? And what I tried to do to make it more discernible is this is the gate activation here, the moon, Mars, and the north node. So where it's having its 30, 60, 90, 120 aspect, I use these solid lines. And then here's Uranus, where it's having its 30, 60, 90, 120 aspects. I use this kind of dotted line, dashed line. And then here's Hercules and Chiron, and where it's having its 30, 60, 90. You see, I tried to use these different images of the connections to the aspects. Here's where Mercury and Sekhmet are sextile, semi-sextile to Saturn, Arthur, and Merlin. And actually, I didn't put it here, but there is a semi-sextile from Saturn to Arthur, but we can see all of this because this last point here, let me go up here. Look closely at the string of semi-sextiles. And we've seen a string of semi-sextiles before when we looked at that trapeze, right? The flying trapeze aspect, but this is different. This is completely different because the flying trapeze aspect started in one element like air and completed in another element, air. This is going even further. And so up here, you can see again, a different kind of a line connecting this to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. All of this is so interwoven. And that's why I called it a spider's web. So how is that resonating, that image around these aspects resonating? Does it feel good, or is something else coming up around that?
I don't know, but I've been watching an actual physical spider over the course of our session go up my laptop across, and it was just sitting there for the longest time at the top. And now that you started talking about the spider web, it is now going back down the laptop. Like there's an actual spider like going around the screen right now. I'm just watching.
Well, I have to tell you, Doreen, how much I appreciate you sharing that validation, that affirmation. And, I send you guys a lot of little Abraham clips to listen to. For the first time recently, I heard her use a phrase that she's maybe used before, they've maybe used before, but I've never heard it before. And it was regarding these synchronicities. And so in the past, we've talked about these synchronicities are giving us guidance, showing us alignment to our vortex, blah, blah, blah. This time, the phrase that she used is that when these things show up, they are validation, they are evidence of what we know. And now here you are sharing this evidence of what I intuited and was like, but is that it? And you're saying, yes,
Yes.
yes, it is. Here's the evidence of that.
I can't make it up. Like,
No, you cannot make this stuff up. You absolutely can. And that is the magic of working consciously with this infinite unified source field that we are all a part of.
Yep. So yes, I'm validating you on that.
Very good. Very good. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's go ahead then and look at this next aspect. This aspect is activating the path of family, home, and community. And remember, it's, you know, I've got this in the book that I put up for you around the shamanic medicine, where I talk about these different relationship paths and what the themes of them are. And of course, this path is indicated by this Cancer opposition to Capricorn. And so what we see here on this Cancer Capricorn axis of the path from family, home, and community, what is happening is that the old structures are falling away and new evolving structures are taking their place. Evolving structures that will create safe space for the children over the next 7 generations. Okay. And so we have Asmodeus and Medusa on one side, and Cancer and Pluto, right? That transformative energy. It's like the tarot card, the Tower. Whatever's not working is going to be burned to the ground, and then something, the Phoenix, the mystical creature, the Phoenix, rises from the ashes. Okay. And then the T-square is pointing to the Magdalene in retrograde. So the Magdalene energies within us, the Sophia consciousness within us, that wisdom consciousness within us in Libra, that's bringing all of that back, right? You think about the pendulum that swings this way and then it swings that way, and eventually it has to come back to a balance point. And that's what's happening with these Libran energies here, being the focal point for that T-square, because we know in a T-square, it looks like a T, right? We've got 190-degree angle, 2 90-degree angles built into this T-square. And remember what we've learned about squares. They're opportunities for breakthroughs in consciousness. And so this energy across here is blending, and it's rising to a higher frequency. And the frequency that it's rising towards is this Magdalene retrograde energy in Libra. Notice that in this chart, it's in the 4th house. So it's creating a whole new energetic taproot for the collective consciousness of humanity and for each of us. All right. So 2 opportunities for breakthroughs in consciousness around this. And this energy is being further supported by this trine from Asmodeus and Medusa to these frequencies here in Pisces. Remember that Pisces is the highest frequency of the water signs. Cancer, then Scorpio, then Pisces. And so these energies are being supported from this very high frequency. And what does that high frequency consist of? Neptune, who's going to be completing his vision quest on that day. Venus, the sacred feminine. Isis, who's a representation of Inanna, and we're in the Inanna underworld. And the sun. So this is huge medicine coming in to support this transformation and this manifestation at a higher vibration. Remember too, that because of this support from the trine of Pisces to the trine of Cancer, that this is the emotional realm. A lot of emotional support being provided as those shadow pieces within you, right? Medusa, the patriarchal fears that paralyze us, are having the light of Asmodeus shown on them. Even if there's subtle cracks, there's so subtle of a crack that it looks like a spider vein.
Mhm.
That's what you need to be looking for.
Mhm.
Or not so much looking for, being aware of
Mhm.
as these energies are being activated within you. Any questions about that? Of course, we go much deeper into this in your personal sessions. Okay.
Any questions for you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom, how are you hanging with us? That's a lot.
No, I'm listening, and I'm just, I'm still taking in the part with the numbers on that were like incredible, that repetition of those numbers, how it goes, and then what it looks like when you do the math, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And I really encourage each of you to go do some research on Tesla and the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Yeah. I know it's a lot for you to take in, Tom, especially jumping into the deep end with us.
Yeah,
I have full confidence in you.
thank you.
Okay, so this is the Vision Quest opportunity. So, understanding, knowing that the North Node represents the collective consciousness of humanity and our own individual evolutionary GPS, choose one or more of these aspects. So not just in terms of the energies of the luminary body, when I'm talking aspects, a square, which would be a breakthrough in consciousness with that energy, a sextile, which is a very harmonious, supportive energy, a trine, which is a very easy flow, also supportive energy of that. Dig into those aspects and the evolutionary body, using those keywords that we've talked about, and discern for yourself, right? How those aspects are evolving you personally. And how do we do that? We take their locations, we look at our solar return charts, we look to see if anything in our solar return chart is being activated by those placements, and we dig into it and we discover for ourselves, oh, this sounds like this energy and this sounds like that energetic flow, right? And discern for yourself and trust for yourself, because I can translate what I'm receiving from your higher self, and yet you will start to have your own clarification, ahas, downloads about, oh, this is how this energy is showing up for me. This is how it's helping me to evolve and expand. And that's why I've been offering you these opportunities all along to play with these keywords and the energies of these luminary bodies, so that you, again, trying to teach you how to fish instead of keep giving you the fish. I love working with you because we cannot see our own shadow pieces, and yet you can still receive the downloads, the awareness heightening, the clarity. One is not, irrespective of the other. So being able to receive that and recognize it enables you to stand more and more in your sovereignty and your power.
And Sophia, Melissa, again, I'm just throwing out a thought to the group, more of a question. So I know for me, I don't know about the rest of the group, but I didn't know, like, if we can, maybe we each take a turn, right? Like maybe this week it's my turn to go and take a picture of the last 3 slides, right? So a picture of, again, what you just talked about with the aspects, a picture of the chart, and then a picture of the vision quest, and then text those out to the group. Because I know for myself, I feel like I do this, but then for me to go back and go into it and then watch the whole recording again and then go, like, so again, I'm just trying to think of a way, anyway, again, this is, I don't know how others feel, but a way just so that it's more front and center during the week, and then because that we continue, like you said. So how do we take what we just learned today and make it in a small chunk that we have I know I'm a visual, but that's me. Again, I don't know how others are, but for me, if I had the visual of just those last 3 slides, like pushed to my text, then I can, when I have time, I can sit, reflect on that image, look at it again, think about what you said, do my vision quest work, then come back to the
And so this
discussion
is
with
an
something.
excellent question, Doreen, and it speaks to exactly why I upload the slides to the resource page, because you can download the slides and you can choose to print all of them or some of them and do that exact thing. That's why the slides are there, so that you can work with them and engage them. So you don't need to take a picture of it, right? If you download the slides.
And again, I'm just saying this, I don't know, and maybe him and I can help each other out by doing that. Maybe like this week I go back in after you post the record, like it's just a lot of extra steps. But again, I'll go back in, log in, find the recording, find the slides, and for me, I need to chunk it out in a way that I can look at it again, process it. Like, so those are a lot of steps. I hear you, but then maybe you and I can help each other as far as like, I do that and then next week you do it, or, again, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of steps in that to get to that part, to get to there, just to then do the actual vision quest and reflecting is all I'm saying.
And then there's
Well,
also
it may feel like a lot of steps because you haven't done it yet.
Right.
But that's why the resource page is there.
Yeah.
So that you can use the resources. You can click on the links and go read the articles and get more information. To download the slides onto your laptop or whatever you're working on and then send them to the printer and print is not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a printer right now, but
yeah, I think what Doreen is suggesting is that we be provided with the pertinent slides to the homework immediately and via the phone, so that I think it sounds like she wants to look at the chart on her phone and on her computer at the same time. And I like that idea. So yeah, you're basically suggesting that by one effort for us all to have it, it saves us all from duplicating that effort. As a teacher, I appreciate that streamlined approach to getting students the very specific tools that they need in order to start immediately working on homework. I like the suggestion.
And it's just something that we would, again, either as a group, just
honestly,
take
ladies,
turns or no, yeah.
I am not clear on what you're asking from me, because
no.
I try to.
We're not asking it.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish.
Yeah.
I update the resource page as quickly as I can.
yeah.
I always send out an email saying the resource page has been updated. At that point, you can go in, you can download the slides, you can print off one slide, you can print them all off. If you don't have a printer, you can take screenshots of those if that's what you need. You can email them to your local Office Depot or whatever and have them print them off. I'm not sure what it is that you're asking of me that I'm not already doing.
I'm feeling
you.
Tarian energy. but I love you guys.
We're not asking it of you. I was asking it of the group as a whole. And again, when I was saying it, I apologize. I was saying, is there a way that we as a group can work together? And I wasn't saying it was you, Sophia, Mona Lisa. So I apologize if it came through that way and that's what you heard. I apologize. I was saying, is there a way as the group, if we can take turns to help each other chunk out that information once you post it, so that, again, that we're not each all doing that same process, that we're working together to get it, again, out to the whole group so that we're focusing on it.
Well,
Well,
it's
that's
clear
all-
to
so I'm
me
not
that
saying
there's
you.
some piece of resistance around what you're asking within me, because we're talking, by the time you download the slides and print them off, we're talking a matter of moments, which is the same matter of moments it would take for one person to do it and email it to everybody else. I'm not following the logic
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
and I will own it. Because I'm not able to follow.
Nobody's
Let me finish,
printing.
please. Let me finish,
Nobody's
please.
printing.
Let me finish, please. Because I cannot follow the logic
Mhm.
of what it is that you're trying to do at a group level, that is, to me, so quick and easy on a personal level, I'm having a lot of resistance around that. And I am owning this resistance right now.
That's okay. Okay. Again, I apologize. Like I said, when I prefaced it, I
Nothing
said,
to apologize for.
this is, again, something that I didn't know that it would help me. And I didn't know if we worked together as a group, if that was going to help others, is how I should have phrased the opening of my question. So
I
it
guess,
has nothing
Doreen,
to do
where
with-
my bugaboo is I don't understand how Maureen downloading the slides and printing them and sending them to you is any help beyond you downloading the slides yourself and printing them. I don't see where the advantage is in that.
Okay.
But
But
again,
nobody's
my own
printing.
resistance,
I didn't hear
and I'm happy
printing.
to own it.
Sophia, Mona Lisa, I haven't heard anybody say printing except for you. So I don't think you understand what's being asked, because the way it's coming back
obviously
is not
don't.
reflecting what I'm hearing. So there definitely is a disconnect. And I
Yeah.
think that it's safe to say that it's Taurian energy, because that's been pointed out. And this is, I mean, it's feeling like what you had felt us doing earlier. Feels very familiar. It sounds like Doreen is offering a suggestion to collaborate. I'm in on it, Doreen. If you want to take the first one,
Mhm.
I'll take the next one.
Okay.
And then, anybody who wants, and can we send them to the message group?
Yeah.
Would anybody else like them? Because it's about getting it on the phone to have a multiple screen experience.
But you
in
can
doing the homework.
download them on your phone. You can access the link on the resource page through your phone and download them to the phone.
I
And so
understand.
again,
I understand, but I also understand, because I teach this stuff for a living, and human computer interfaces. And I understand that the resource page on a phone, you have to scroll, then you have to get to the slides, and you have to find the specific ones on your phone. I understand the ease with which Doreen is offering this adventure, and I'm in on it.
okay, if it works for you too, go for it.
Yeah.
Maureen, if you get any of that and would like to participate, go for it.
I'll look at it.
still don't
I'll look
see
at
the
it.
advantage, but that's
See what-
okay.
No, I'll look at it. Yeah, sure. I don't understand it completely myself, but I already print stuff out, and I just have it in my notebook because I don't do well on screens. I really need to see it on paper. I'm a very physical person that way. I don't like Kindle. I like to read a book. That's just the way I learn. But hey, I'm always open to ideas, so I'd be happy to take a look at it. What you're talking about. Yeah.
And whatever voodoo you're doing over there, if you want to send it to me so that I can see it and maybe finally connect what it is that you're trying to do,
Right.
feel free to send it to me too.
So that's it. We'll just send it to the mutual text for everyone.
Sure.
And we'll do it for the feminine and the masculine, because we're going to have the one message stream still. So Leela's in and can still get them if she's interested in what we're doing and if it comes up. So then and then we'll take shifts.
Yep.
It'll also help ping people. It's here, it's ready, let's start doing the work. I like the idea, but we're
Listen,
in the
you
business
guys
of
want to do
education.
it, you orchestrate it between yourselves and leave me out. Because I'm
We're
doing
gonna
enough
include
over
you.
here.
We're not gonna leave anybody out. We're gonna include everybody and you'll find it useful or you won't.
Now, I don't mind receiving whatever it is that you're talking. See, in my mind, I can go to the resource page on my phone. I can click the link to download the slides, the PDF of the slides in my phone. I can open that PDF, scroll through the slides, and I can take a picture of the slides I want to work with on my phone. And so I don't see the advantage, but if you do, go for it. And if it's something that you guys want to do for a group, work it out amongst yourselves. I've got a lot over here going to get the library updated, to get the resource page updated. So do your thing.
No, and I wasn't asking it of you. I'm sorry. I was asking if the rest of the group was interested. That's all. I apologize.
Listen, I am one for efficiency. Believe me, I'm all aboard for that. I still, again, it's a communication breakdown. I don't see the efficiency in what you're recommending, but I don't, if you want to do it, go for it.
Okay.
Okay, here we are. The next support group is next Saturday, March 20th at our usual time. And these are the classes for April, if you'd like to put them on your calendar. We're having our next Sacred Feminine class will still be in the Inanna Underworld on Monday, April 12th. And I'm just looking at that because it sounds like somebody's birthday to me and it's not coming to my mind. And then the Sacred Masculine class, the 5th labor, the following Saturday on April 17th. All right. Any final questions, answers, clarities, ahas, anything that anybody requires at this point?
Nope. Good. Oh, thank you.
All right. If at any time between now and Saturday, anything comes up for you around anything that we've discussed, you know, please feel free to shoot me a text message, an email, and we can, you know, clarify that. Remember that after the group session on Saturday is that following week is when you can start scheduling your private sessions. And if I can have at least until the following Wednesday before the first one is scheduled, but I need to know if you're going to do it on Wednesday, because I need time to create the slides for your personal session. So if you know, ooh, I'd like to do mine that Wednesday, send me a text or something right away so that I'll know that I can get the slides together for that class. Okay.
Yes.
How you doing, Tom?
Thank you.
Good.
What an intro, right?
I liked it.
Good, good. That's good. All right, Gaia's.
Yes. Thank
Have
you.
Have a great week, Gaia's and Tom.
We love
Thank
you,
you.
Sophia, Mona Lisa.
Guys
We
and
love
guys.
you.
Bye-bye. Talk to you
You guys.
soon.